If you've been wondering what the Gray Zone Warfare devs have been up to the last few weeks, well, here you have it. They just released the full patch notes for patch 2, officially deemed patch 0.12, and it's a doozy. I wanted to go over some of the highlights, including a few I know you might just like. Let's do it. Thanks for watching the video. I'm Boomer, I'm old, and I'm just trying to compete in online shooters. I'm also a Gray Zone Warfare community leader, which means I get direct access to the devs through a private Discord channel and monthly meetings. So, what are the highlights from this massive patch? As mentioned, I wanted to go over some of the patch highlights that were just released today. And again, just looking at the length of addition, changes, and fixes here, a lot went into this update, so I wanted to again go over some of the highlights here. So for some of the things that were added, at least to me, with the most exciting parts of this patch include our 9 new landing zones, and we'll talk about that more here in a minute. Various VRAM optimizations. By far, one of 2 common complaints I hear from everybody on Twitter and YouTube is that the game isn't optimized for their rig. And with those VRAM optimizations, you can see that there was also work to optimize and reduce rubber banding. So those 2 things alone in this patch is a winner. But when you consider 9 new landing zones, that almost immediately changes the gameplay, the way you can infill and exfil. So let's take a look at the map. Here is a map of Lemang with all the new 9 LZs. And I'm doing this from memory here, so I hope I don't get anything wrong. But over here near Bonpa, you can see there's India 3. This is a new LZ. Kilo 3 down here by Blue Lagoon is a new LZ. We've got Juliet 4. We have Delta 1. We have Delta 4, Echo 3, Foxtrot 3, Hotel 4, and I believe, Hotel 2 and Golf 3 are new LZs. So if you've ever been LZ camp before, you know, especially in places like Hunter's Paradise, where you only have 2 LZs, if you were in a fight, in a PvP fight, and you had to come back to get your gear, you were most often landing at one of these 2 LZs to quickly get back into the action. And it was kind of a 50-50 coin flip, whether or not you were going to get LZ camped again. If you landed here and were killed, maybe you try to land back here, but whether or not you were going to get LZ camped, it kind of was a roll of the dice. So with the addition of all these new LZs, it just gives you more ways to avoid LZ camping, and then of course more ways to infiltrate and also to exfiltrate. You don't have to worry about getting to a hot LZ to get back to base with your loot. Now, the other 2 updates or additions that stand out to me, the various VRAM optimizations and the optimization to reduce rubber banding. So even if you have a high-end system, you hear all the time that some people struggle to play the game. So these are kind of the beginning and ongoing efforts to improve everybody's experience. So I was able to play this patch in the test servers last weekend, so that would have been late June, and my experience playing DLSS on a 3070 with an AMD Ryzen 5900, so my experience was better than it was on a normal live server. So I think everybody's going to have probably a different experience, but these are really, really foundational, important steps in the right direction. If you skim then through the rest of these additions here, a lot of good quality of life additions, a lot of fixes to items that just make the game more polished. And of course, the game is in early access, it's pre-alpha, it has a long ways to go. Well, it's important to the company to get things right as they continue forward, or at least that's what they've said in interviews that I've seen on YouTube. And so these are a lot of details that kind of push the game in the direction that they want it to be, which is ultimately a polished game. Because of that, we won't go through every one of these adjustments. They renamed the Mark 18 to the DDM4 to correspond with weapon specifications. And now here, when you get into the fix portion of the patch notes, you can see there were a ton of fixes. Me and my buddy or my brother-in-law always noticed this levitating fence near Midnight Sapphire. It would be on the northeast corner of Midnight Sapphire on the trail that takes you around the water up to the waterfalls. And it had been floating there since day one, so far as I know. Here's one that I really hope is fixed in all instances, and that is glass on some doors and windows, which cause them to be bulletproof. I think it was relatively common for you to shoot out of a window or try to shoot into a window, and for your bullets not to make it. It was like the glass was bulletproof, like it says. So hopefully we will now be able to shoot into and out of windows, and that our experience doing so will be consistent across the map. Another fix here that I'm excited to see is one that I ran into YBL1 all the time, and that would be AI that were stuck inside walls and shooting from inside walls. So you would get down into the bunker and you would hear gunshots or you would hear movement, but there you couldn't find a player. You couldn't see any player anywhere. And sometimes you would die to an AI who was in the wall shooting you from inside the wall. So this is a big important one. There are lots of missions in YBL1, and for whatever reason, they are difficult for me. So not being shot and killed by an invisible wall-bound AI, that's a winner. I think another really important one here, and it's one that I've ran into and I've read a lot about, is the issue where players were unable to loot their body in PvE mode. So you would go out on a task, you would die, you would get back to base, go back to the location naked in an attempt to regain your gear. You would see your body, you would see all your gear, but there was no prompt for you to actually loot it. So there was no way for you to loot your body, and now you're away from base with no gear and frustrated that you just lost, upwards of maybe $10,000 worth of gear. I was able to test this multiple times, and this bug has been fixed, or at least it was on the test server. Another one here that I personally have run into at least a few times, possibly more, is that there was an issue that players in a coma couldn't be shot and finished off. I can remember a distinct instance. I was fighting in Bon Pa, and there was a duo that I was up against as a solo. I killed one of the two players, and I went to finish him off in the middle of the street, and no matter how many bullets I put into him, he couldn't die. So I backed off, and in that process got killed by his buddy. So, this is a good one. You want to be able to obviously finish off an opponent that you've downed, and now this issue is fixed. Again, this is another one of those issues that I personally tested, and it was working like it is intended to. If you've ever played in squads, you know that at least historically, creating a squad, whether it's from the menu, the home menu, or from within a game, if you're in game and you've got a friend out of game, sometimes it doesn't work and you've got to back out both of you all the way to the main menu and sometimes restart the game to be able to properly squad up and then get into a server again. And I know they've fixed a few of those issues here. Being unable to invite a player to a squad after kicking them, being unable to join a server with your squad if the leader is already on a server. So lots of really good quality of life fixes here, especially for people who want to squad up. This was another popular one that made its rounds on social media, and that is the item duplication exploit. I don't even want to say how players did it, but as players will do, they found a way to duplicate I believe every item or most items in their inventory. And so we had a bunch of billionaires running around Lemang. Glad to see that this one got cut out. I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. An AFK timer to kick idle players. I've never been idle long enough to have been kicked, so I don't know what that timer is going to look like, what sort of notifications it's going to give you, how long you're going to have away from keyboard before you're kicked off. But good that they're doing this, because you do hear from time to time that somebody went to use the restroom or did whatever and they came back and they were kicked. Hopefully this will let us know exactly how long we have before that happens. Okay, let's kind of wrap up here with the major takeaways. We'll start with the additions. We talked about the 9 new landing zones already. I think that's great. Another great quality of life addition here that I think will also help with heli wait times is that you will get both the pickup and destination zone description to the helicopter widget. And in layman's terms, that means when you right click on a helicopter, say one that's landing at base, you will get that little widget that will tell you where the helicopter is going to. And so especially if you're a solo player or maybe in a smaller squad and you see somebody get on a chopper at base, you'll be able to right click that helicopter and find out where it's going from. And hopefully it's going at least close to where you want to go. That way you can avoid having to wait at the base for a long period of time to get a chopper to where you want to go. They've added separate ADS sensitivity settings, which is great to maybe lower your ADS sensitivity when you're scoped in. I think that's a great touch. Again, they've added optimizations to reduce rubber banding. I played again on the test server. I don't think I had any rubber banding issues. I did still have frame drops at Tiger Bay, but as far as rubber banding goes, I think they've reduced that significantly. And then hand in hand with that is various VRAM optimizations. I've got a 3070 with 8 gigs of VRAM. And so anything they can do to optimize the VRAM is going to help me and you as well. And then, of course, some of the highlighted various bug fixes here and changes. They fixed various spots on the map where players could get stuck in terrain. And then one that I've run into, I believe at Midnight Sapphire out by the waterfall, is that you're unable to see your body because it fell through the ground or the floor. So that's another one of those hand in hand with not being able to loot your body. If you come back, especially naked, and you want to get to your body to regain and you can't see it because it's fallen through the ground or the floor, then again, that's just frustrating. So another important one of those fixes to have gotten done. Well, I think that covers at least most of them. I'm sure I missed some really important ones here. I really encourage you to go to the Gray Zone Warfare Steam page or to their Twitter profile. You can catch them on Discord and really read through those notes. Let me know if I've missed anything that's really important here. I think it's a really strong step in the right direction. I'm excited for where the game is going. We've got update 1 coming later in the year, but if they continually put out patches like this that give us a little bit more content, improve the game, improve the optimization, I think it's just continued proof that this company is dedicated to this project, talented and dependable. So I'm excited to see what they do in the coming months. In the coming weeks, I would assume, they tease to the fact that we will be getting the full roadmap here that will include the full picture of what we can expect from the game, the various patches and updates through hopefully to version 1.0. So we know update 1 later this year is going to include day-night, but at a certain point, all sorts of really cool features will be coming to the game. I hope we're able to see and get some details about what and when we can expect those features. So very excited about all this. If you've watched this far in the video, I don't usually do impromptu videos. I'm usually a scripted guy. So appreciate you sticking with me to the end of this video. If you have any questions, I am a Gray Zone Warfare community leader. So I do have direct connections to the company. I don't know everything. And if they tell me something off the record, it stays between me and them. But I probably do know more than the average fan of Gray Zone Warfare. So if you have any questions, any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I do my best to try to reply to everybody. So again, I really appreciate you watching this video. Until next time, have a great day.